I'm Reverend Dr. Francis Tabla, and I'm privileged to be the pastor of the Ebenezer Community Church in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. I extend our profound greetings to pastors, friends, and well-wishers of the body of Christ in Philadelphia and its surrounding areas. We first congratulate you on your recent Super Bowl win. We have some great news for you. We are bringing our Faith in Action Capital Campaign fundraiser right in your neighborhood on Sunday, April 27th at 4:30 p.m. at the Overbrook AG Church located at 6651 West Girard Avenue in Philadelphia, where Reverend Kwaku Owusu-Boakye is the pastor. Ebenezer Community Church is privileged to have some great relationships with pastors, friends, and many well-wishers in Philadelphia and surrounding cities for a number of years. Some of the pastors and friends who have visited or minister at Ebenezer Community Church from the areas mentioned include Pastor Kwaku and Mama Gloria Owusu-Boakye and the Overbrook International Choir, Ambassador Maron Kessel, Mistress Benilio Gull, Minister Steve Kelly, Pastor and Mistress Nad Miller, Bishop and Mistress Samuel Martin, Pastor and Mistress Abraham Momo, Pastor Enoch Nyakun, Dr. and Mistress Julius Ogogo, Pastor Nimlan Sampson, Reverend Dr. Anthony Semwi, Christine Ade, BWI class of 1987, Lovetta Harris Carr, Willett Early Tier, Victoria Johnson.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jah, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In today's edition of our show, we are honored to have Reverend Dr. Francis O. Tabla. He's the senior pastor of the Ebenezer Community Church in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. Today, we're going to be talking about how to start, how to grow, and maintain a big church, just like the Ebenezer Community Church. Reverend Tabla, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you so much, Brother Dennis. It is good to be back here.
Thank you. We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. This is Focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. You know, before we even begin our show, I want to tell you a story why I've called Bishop. Oh, he doesn't like that one. I've called Reverend Tabla to do this show. You know, when I was growing up, we had our team, and there was this guy called Chambo. Chambo was supposed to be the medicine man who would make us to win. So every time we play a game, we're going to go to Chambo and ask Chambo, you know, to make medicine for us to win the game. So my father asked one day, he said, but has Chambo ever played soccer or played football? And we're mad with him. We said, why you ask that question? He said, but the person who didn't play, how can that person make football medicine for you to win? And we were so angry with him. We said, this old man is not serious. Fast forward, I was in a place in Guinea called Bamakama, and there is a Camon there. And they said every Liberian government official or politician will go there so that Camon will make them president. Whatever job they wanted, they went to the Camon to make medicine so that they will get that job. The Camon himself is not working. The reason I'm saying all this is it took me almost 40 years to realize that what my father was saying, that if Chambo didn't play soccer, it will be almost impossible for Chambo to do things that will make us to know how to play soccer. If Kamon had never run for office and never even applied for a job, how can Kamon make you president or an elected official? So when I was looking for somebody to tell me how to start, how to grow and maintain a big church, I thought about Reverend Francis O. Tabla because he has one. In our community, I know of the Reverend Bishop Darlington Johnson. I know my own Pastor Jeremiah Mayonga, and now I also know Dr. Francis Tabla to be running big churches. So if we want to know about big church, that's the person we will ask. Dr. Tabla, do you agree with me, or you agree with my father that we couldn't go to Chambo because Chambo never played, and that's why I'm coming to you?
I agree with your dad.
Okay, good. So the first time we talked, you were in the middle of a big capital campaign to raise money to even make your church bigger. Why not you start with that so that people know that you can talk about this topic. Let's talk about your church and the capital campaign.
All right. So our church is Ebenezer Community Church. This year we turned 25 years old. We got started in September of 2000 with 8 people, and we have grown to over 850 people. So the head church is in Brooklyn Park, but we have started 2 other churches in Minnesota. One is in St. Paul, one is in Bloomington, and then we have started 3 churches in Liberia, 1 church in Freetown, Sierra Leone. We have 3 church plants in Kenya rather, a church plant in Ghana, and we are on the verge of starting churches in Uganda and South Africa. So the campaign is to pay off balance of $4 million from a $10 million building that we built. All right. We built 2 phases, our fellowship hall, and then our sanctuary with educational space that cost us over $10 million US. We have paid $6 million, and now we are trying to pay off the balance of $4 million by August 31st this year.
Thank you. And the reason, the reason I want to ask you this question about how you did it is it's not just spiritual. It's not just about church, but organization. To be able to build an organization, I started focus on Liberia in 2017, and we are still growing. People ask me, "Oh, focus on Liberia is different. I like the way you guys do things, and you have so many people doing so many programs too. How you did it?" Bishop Mawia once told us that all the ships have gone to Liberia, but the ship that have not gone to Liberia is partnership, and that is why we don't know how to make things big when we have an organization. We always have trouble. From alumni association, county association, there's always little things, and so our organizations are small. Now you were able, through the grace of God, have a huge church, and when you're talking money, you are talking millions. So that's the reason I want you to tell us how you did it, so that we can build on your experience. Say we want to build a school, we want to do a church, we want to do our organization, our county organization, our community organization. Those same principles, I believe, they will apply. Am I correct?
Sure. Yes. First of all, though, I want to thank you again for inviting me back on the show. And I also want to stress that I am not an expert when it comes to building church and or leading a large congregation. I'm not an expert. I will attribute just to the grace of God upon my life has been able to help me to lead a handful of people to do something great for the kingdom of God. And so I will now listen to your specific questions, and then by God's grace, I will try to address them.
Thank you. And the reason I'm asking you is because you have the experience, you have done it, and so we can learn from you. So let me start by saying, what was your vision for this church when you started? And do you still have that same vision, or how has it evolved over time?
Absolutely. So what happened? The vision to plant Ebenezer Community Church came out of the midst of confusion. I was confused because my wife and I came to the United States for me to study, to do my graduate study, and return to Liberia. All right. But as my time of graduation was drawing nearer, the civil war in Liberia continued. All right. And so it was becoming difficult to return to Liberia, even though I had gone through the first phase of the civil war. And so, in the midst of that confusion, we began to ask God what to do. All right. We wanted to go back home. Our friends in America, we have made said, Francis, you cannot take your wife and kids back into the war. So when we started to pray, God just told us, start a work in America that will reach out to Liberians. He didn't say where in America. He just said, start a work in North America. And so we prayed, and then we were led to do survey. All right. We surveyed about 7 states, and Minnesota was the last state that we surveyed. And all of the results show that that was the place to go and get started. But the vision came with a word from the Lord. And that word is found in John 15, verse 16, where Jesus said, you have not chosen me, but I have chosen you and ordained you that you may go and bear fruit, and that your fruit shall remain, and that whatsoever you ask the Father in my name, he will give it to you. I'm telling you, Brother Dennis, that verse has been our lifeblood throughout the life of Ebenezer Community Church. That's the biblical basis, the biblical premise on which the church is established. All right. Go and bear fruit, your fruit will remain. Whatever you ask God in my name, Jesus says, I will do it. So with that, then we had to have a mission action plan called MAP. We had a mission action plan. In other words, we were targeting Liberians, because when we received the vision said, plant a church that will reach out to Liberians in North America. And so when we got to Minnesota, we started with 8 people. They were all Liberians. And we started, we had our mission action plan. We had our evangelism strategies, which I will talk about later. But then some people were getting offended with our vision that we were reaching out to Liberians. Some people were saying, you can't come to America and you start a church for Liberians. You can't come to America, you start a church for Liberians. Well, the vision that God gave us was reach out to Liberians. And so we kept on to that vision. It will be about 2 or more years into the church plant that I will come to realize that idea of reaching the target group Liberians was a church planting strategy to get the core group of people. All right. So even though people were complaining, and some of them, unfortunately, were pastors, I had to make up my mind that I heard from God and not friends. So when we got the core group of people, the Lord used those core group of people now to bring about 14 different nations in the church. All right. So 1, we must hear from the Lord. 2, we must have that grace, and 3, we should have mission action plan. And the mission action plan incorporates evangelism and some other things. So let me talk about some of our strategies that we use to grow.
We'll get there, because I'm starting something is very hard, right?
Okay.
And I was in Massachusetts, Massachusetts, and there was this guy. He had a suit. He sold coat suits, right? And so every time people came, he's from, I think, Kenya. So people came and would bring the African CD, and he will say no. He said, because I don't want my place to be seen as African store, because everybody can wear a suit, right? So I don't want to have just an African store so that everybody, you want African thing, then you come here. I'm in America. I want to be able to sell to millions of people and not just thousands of people. So I what you're telling me is, yes, the Lord told you the core group, target Liberians to start, but go wider, because I mean, you in the sea. Why you say you just want catch or catfish? You should go for everybody. I want you to
Yes.
zero in on that a little bit more. People have told me, say, if you want, and I want to be straight up, that if you want social Liberians in your church, it will never grow. If you want to sell to Liberians alone, you will not have this. So what was talked about reaching out to other people, and what was driving that?
Yeah. So like I said, about 2 years into the plant, um, the need to reach out to other nationalities evolved. In fact, when we got started, the name of our church was Liberian Community Church. All right, that was the name, uh, to make sure that we were being obedient to God. And then, uh, like I said, 2 years into the plant, it was becoming evident that the name was exclusive. It was exclusive, excluding others from joining the church. And so we met as a congregation and we prayed. We prayed for 1 month on what our name should be. And after the 1 month concluded, we met and we said the church members who have prayed should put forward names and then say why we should use those names. And so members put forward names and explained. And then the name Ebenezer came up. Ebenezer from 1 Samuel 7:12 means a stone of help. This far has the Lord helped us or brought us. Everyone in the church could resonate with that name, whether they were from Cameroon, Liberia, or so forth, because we all came from Africa and we came to find better life in America. So we took the name Ebenezer Community Church. But when I say that, the Liberians constituted the core group, now, even though we were all Liberians in the church at the time, but our vision was global. All
Okay.
right. Our vision was global. And so the Liberians in the church began to invite other nationalities. We customized our message in such a way that whether you were African or whether you were white, whether you were black, the message could resonate with you. And as a result, people began to come to the church who were not necessarily Liberians. All right.
Hmm.
So we don't have a member of our church that is white that is currently at the church. We had 2 white members who moved out of state, but we have an associate who visits our church. She's a Caucasian. She visits our church. But we have a lot of white friends of Ebenezer Community Church. In fact, some of them are strong supporters of our church. They come every now and then. But the rest of the membership, they are all Africans or Black people from other, countries in North America or from the islands. All right. But like I said, we are now 14. We are on the verge of being 15 nations represented in the church. But our messaging was as such that it was not just targeting Liberians any longer.
Right.
All right. It was a global vision that we were sharing. And by the grace of God, it's having ripple effect outside of the United States now to other countries.
Thank you. And one pastor told me that your church should be a representation of what it will look in heaven, because Revelation, I think it's 7:9 say, after this I look, and there before me was a great multitude that no one could count, from every nation, from every tribe, from every people, from every language standing. So we should have a replica of heaven. Our church should represent what John saw this time. Do you agree? And if your church is not like that, what happens?
Yes, so I definitely agree, especially when you are in a country, like the United States, where all the world has come to America. All right.
Right.
So I definitely agree with that. But if you were in Liberia, for example, uh,
You
that
should have
scripture may not
PC, you should have
necessarily
Pele,
apply.
you should have Crown.
Yeah, so it will be now trouble. All
Right.
right. If you have some international people that are working in the country, yes, it will be good for them to come and join the church. But I definitely agree with you. Our churches should represent what heaven is going to look like. I don't have any resentment towards that. Not at all.
So talk briefly about the strategy to go out and talk to all these people, because sometimes when you go, by the time they hear the accent, oh, because I told you I was, at the church in Massachusetts, Christ Jubilee, and we were doing something, by the time people know these churches by nationality. Oh, this is the Ghanaian church, the Liberian church, the Nigerian church. So when you go and you see, even though thank God our church have different nationality, praise God, but most people when they see that they go to a church and they say, oh, the Liberian church, then they are looking for their Ghanaian church or they are looking for their Kenyan church. How did you do it to have people from different nationalities?
Yes, so some of our strategies. One of our biggest evangelism strategy is an approach to evangelism called invitational evangelism. Invitational evangelism is where we empower the members of the church to simply invite their neighbors to church, their schoolmates to church, their co-workers to church. Simply do that. We design an invitational card. We have a card designed for that. And they have those cards on the person, all right? And they go out. They don't have to preach the gospel, just invite. Then we also say when you invite the person to church, pray that when they come to church, either the message they're going to hear, the songs that will be sung, or some prayer that will be prayed, something will be said in church that will lead that person to give their life or their life to Jesus Christ. Invitational evangelism has been one of our most potent means of church growth, just by inviting people to church. So that's one, invitational evangelism. Then we have another one called occasional evangelism, where we encourage the members of the church when there are occasions coming up. Just invite people. For example, if a couple is dedicating their child, we encourage them to invite all the friends, all the family members, workmates to that child dedication. Some people will not come to a regular service, but because you invite them to child dedication, they come. And we have had scores of people that join our church because they came for a child dedication. They just saw the quality of the service, all right? Then weddings. You invite people to weddings. They come to and they experience the church. We try to make our weddings professional. We don't do that like Liberian thing where the wedding is supposed to start at 3 o'clock and then the people come at 5. We don't do that at Ebenezer Community Church. In fact, we start the wedding right at the time it was announced, and we have concluded weddings, and the people are gone to the reception, and we see people coming for the wedding. The wedding is over, all right? So we try to be professional. Then we had an evangelism called sports ground evangelism. When we arrived in Minnesota, we went to the sports ground. We saw hundreds of Liberians all over the place. And we're like, where these people come from? They gather to the sports ground on Saturday, or in the evening if they are playing sports. So we will go there, we invite them. And then sometimes on Sunday mornings, Liberians, some Africans go to play football, soccer, Sunday mornings. And so I will put my family in my van. I will stop by the soccer field on Sunday morning, and I'll just ask the ref, I want to pray for all the people that are playing soccer. And the ref will stop the practice. He will say, Pastor Tabla is here to pray for you guys. And Africans love to be prayed for. And so I don't go and evangelize. I just pray for everybody. And then I get in my van and leave. Now, when the winter comes, they can't go to play soccer in the winter. They want to go somewhere. They say, that pastor that came to pray for all on the soccer field, let's go to his church. And then they come to Ebenezer Community Church. Today, we have leaders in our church who came as a result of that evangelism on sports ground. Wash night. Wash night is a huge thing in the African community. And we prime wash night. We make sure we invite people. This going wash night last year, December 31st, we had over 1,000. We had 1,300 people at Ebenezer Community Church. Some of those people became members of the church. All right. So those are just some of our strategies. And then, of course, being very humble, being down to earth, have a very good interpersonal relationship with people. One of my grace that God has given me is to remember people's names. Okay. Up to the time we were 500 members, I knew every member of the church. I knew their name. I know most of their children's names and so forth. Now we are over 800 people. I'm losing some names now, but I have made it my duty to learn to call people by their names. All right. And that has helped. People come to our church and they join the church because when they introduce themselves to me, I remember their names. I rehearse their names. And when I see them the next time, I call them by their full name. All right. Then, of course, we got these different nations in the church. We got all of the tribes from Liberia. They are in the church. I learned how to say hello in the dialect or tribe from Liberia. All of the tribes, I know how to say hello, at least hello.
Let's try that for a few.
Okay, before we get there, then the nations. So I know how to speak to the Ghanaians. I know how to speak to the people from Kenya. I know how to speak to the people from Nigeria. All right. Those from the French-speaking country, I know how to say hello to them in French. All right. So when you do that, people feel a sense of belonging. I don't know all of their dialects, but at least I can say hello. So which dialect you want me to say hello in from Liberia?
Let's start with Kisi.
Who?
And Vi. Kisi, Vi, and Mandingo.
Okay. So Mandingo is going to be Isoma. All right. Va is either Yakune. All right. Kisi is Achukene. Keresa Malikali. All right. The Kran, I know how to say Naro, the Gribble, Nawia, Basa, Moyo, Awoniboy, Loma, of course, Loma, married to a Loma woman, Levasu. All right. Or if it is Bandi, it will be Fabesu. All right. So I try to say hello in all of those dialects. And I'm telling you.
Pastor Tabla, I'm not trying to interrupt you, but that is very, and as you are saying these things, I'm in my mind, I'm translating that in my own organization. Because let's say if I have an organization that I'm a member of, and the president of that organization every day he can call my name, what would I be doing there? Right? So I was talking to somebody and I say when I become a superintendent of Sino County, one of the things I would do is in my office, I'm going to have down to the township, the town chief will have the phone number, because how great would that be if there's a little issue or no issue in the town, if I can call the town chief and say, oh, Merry Christmas, or oh, how things going. Everybody will feel a sense of belonging when you know them and they know that you know them personally. When I was going to high school, our math teacher, Mr. Quay, knew everybody. So if you were in the hatcher or somewhere running around, when he called, if the teacher does not know your name, you can get away with things. But by the time he calls your name, you know that you're in trouble. So nobody wanted to do things like that. So I'm thinking how we transfer what you are doing into our various organizations, and that's one reason we're here. Let me go to my second question.
Since you are from Sino, let me say hello to you inside in crew. Now forever. Yeah, but what you say is true. One thing I didn't mention is almost all of the church members, I have their numbers on my phone and I communicate with them on a weekly basis. All right. They're in a chat room, the church group chat. I communicate with the church members on a weekly basis. And if something happens to a member and I get to know about it, I can communicate with them directly using their phone numbers, which is good. All right.
Very good.
Yeah, you can incorporate that as well.
Yeah, interpersonal skills. I mean, I've been to other churches where the pastor, not a knock on anybody, the pastor doesn't have it. The pastor hand, and I'll ask you that too. The pastor hand, is the cassava leaf. Your hand always stretching to receive. But we'll come to that. Let me say, to start the church, that's one thing, but to maintain it, to make sure that the people are not running away from you. They are not. Many churches now is you break away from this church, the other people break away from you, the other people break away. I know it's bound to happen, but how do you keep the group together?
Yes, so the motto of our church, Ebenezer Community Church, our motto is a church where everybody is somebody. All right, so we don't try to discriminate amongst people. We have people in our church who are lettered, and we have people in our church who are non-lettered. And we make sure that all of them are in leadership. All right, people who went to school and people who have not been to school, you come to Ebenezer Community Church, you will find deacons who are not lettered, but they are spiritual people, they are mature, and they serve in the deacon ministry. They may head a department. All right. So we try to cultivate that spirit of a community. You hear our name, Ebenezer Community Church. So we live together like a community. We cultivate that spirit of family, all right, within the church. Now, we're not a perfect church. I will not be here and tell you that we are a perfect church. We have our blind spots, our shortcomings, our inadequacies. But generally, in the general scheme of things, we cultivate that spirit of community and family. All right. Now, like I mentioned earlier, interpersonal relationships. I went to a vocational school, Booker Washington Institute. So I am a technical man before I became a pastor. And, as a technical man, you have to learn how to come down to the levels of all the people you work with and make them feel very, very important. All right. Each person brings something to the table that can benefit the community. So when you come to Ebenezer Community Church, if you don't know me, unless they tell you I'm the pastor, you wouldn't know, because I'm very down to earth, very simple. I don't have bodyguards. All right. I mean, it's not bad to have bodyguards, especially when you're leading a big church like that. But I don't have, all these people around me. No, no, no. I have one person who begged me to carry my Bible, and I let him do that. All right. But I'm a very down to earth person. The same thing with my wife. If you go to our church, you'll find my wife cleaning, sweeping, you just name it. And even the members try to prevent her from doing that. But that's just her way of life.
Yeah.
That's how we were brought up. We are very simple people. And so people want to have leaders who can identify with them,
Yeah.
who can associate with them. When we have time, we go to the graduations of our children who are graduating from school, college, high school. We attend the barbecues. We visit our sick members in the hospital. We go with them to court if they have court issues. We go with them at the immigration, hearings. I mean, you just name it. Strong pastoral care.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
When I went to Lowell, Massachusetts, that's what attracted me into Christ Jubilee of Pastor Jerry Mayonga, right? I mean, there's a huge church, it's a old Catholic diocese. The man will be running from the top to bottom, everything he does it. And very simple, down to earth, just like you are describing. So I personally, when I went there and I saw what he was doing, I said, no, I think I will be here. But here's my question to you. How do you balance this? Because this is being the spiritual guidance, the practical advice. Some will say, open rebuke is better than secret love. I have a brother-in-law. He said he can't pastor. He's a very good, strong Christian evangelist. He like to get people and translate and send them to a church. He said because somebody is insane, somebody is doing wrong. When you go to them, they get angry, they leave, right? So you will see that there's one church, where everything is just. So how do you balance that spiritual guidance and then advice, and so that people don't get angry and leave, or people don't get too comfortable and do the wrong thing?
Yes, it's a very you have to be very careful on how you handle the people of God. If you don't, you can lose them. Now, it doesn't mean that we have to compromise, but even if somebody is wrong, we should rebuke them in love. We should correct them in love. All right. Unfortunately, since I'm a pastor, I can speak, from the pastor's perspective. Unfortunately, some of us pastors have lost ministries lost congregations just because we didn't know how to relate to the people and know how to speak to them, how to handle them. All right, we can be agitated, all the time and just speak harshly to people. All right, we can rebuke people in love. I mean, the church, when you are dealing with sheep, sheep, sheep is hard to deal with, and you have to be patient-minded. And if you're not patient-minded, you may experience something like Moses. Moses was not patient-minded with the children of Israel. He got agitated, and then in his agitation, he disobeyed God, and he did not physically enter the promised land. All right. So we have to create a balance where you can discipline members of the church, you can correct members of the church, but you can do it in love. All right. And I think one of the things that has
Give me a
helped me.
practical example because I want to learn.
Okay, take for example, um, I can do one that may involve maybe the member fail. All right. The member went and had maybe a child or the marriage or got pregnant or the marriage. All right.
Right.
Years ago, the discipline would be you will bring the member before church and and rebuke them before the whole congregation. All right. In some cases,
Or,
years
or
ago,
put them on sin on bench.
they will have something called sinner's bench. All right. So, and the idea is that when you do that, then it will prevent other members from going to do the same thing. All right. What did Jesus do when those guys brought the woman and said, "This woman is caught in the act of adultery"? And Moses said we should stone her to death according to the law of Moses. What did Jesus do? Jesus said to them, "You that is without sin, cast the first stone." All right. And Jesus wrote something on the ground. Some pastor said he was writing all of those guys' names on the ground. Now, there's no biblical evidence for that, but that's what they say. But each of them left because they realized that they too were guilty. And then he said to the woman, "Has no man condemned you?" She said, "No." Jesus said to her, "Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more." So when somebody has faltered in such a way, we will talk to them. And once they admit that they have gone wrong, we help them to walk with God, to ask for forgiveness. There is no real benefit, especially in this media age. There is no benefit in bringing somebody before the church and say this person committed fornication, so we are suspending them from the choir. We suspended them from the youth department. There is no benefit in that. All right.
But do you suspend them even if you don't bring them before the church to say it?
Well, if the person is in a leadership position, for example, if the person is heading a department and they falter, then of course, yes, they can sit down and go through a period of restoration.
Okay.
All right. You don't want to set bad example. So they can sit down and then go through a period of restoration. And when that will include counseling, making sure that the person realizes their error and they ask God forgiveness. And then they go through a period of counseling and then restored to fellowship, which we have done in our church. We have restored people to fellowship before. All right. But so that example was for somebody who sinned. All right. But what if somebody, maybe the person is leading a department and the department had a program plan and they put everything into it and just to realize that it was a failure. All right. I don't think it's good to come and lambast the leader and embarrass the leader further and saying everything you did was just a failure. You should have known better. You should have known better. No. I think we should give people the opportunity to fail and then learn from their failure. All right? Learn from the
Thank you.
failure. Even though I'm pastoring Ebenezer Community Church that you classify as a mega church today, but along the way, I made some mistakes myself. All right? There are some things, if I were to go back now, I will not repeat them. All right? Moses made a mistake. He sent the 12 spies to spy the promised land. When they came back, I believe the error Moses made was to go and allow those 12 spies to speak to the entire congregation. And 10 of them spoke negatively. You know what happened? It brought almost a riot. All right. And they wanted to stone Moses. Now, Joshua was the minister of Moses. When Joshua had the opportunity to send people to spy the land before he went to take over, he didn't send 12, he sent 2. And when those 2 came back, he didn't bring them to speak to the whole congregation. He brought them into his office, for lack of a better term. You see? So we can learn from mistakes. We can learn from failures. We can learn from errors to improve. So it is my responsibility now as pastor, if somebody went to do a program and they fail, I should come alongside, say, okay, what can we learn from here? And how can we do it better? You see?
Thank you. My next question, relating to that is sermon preparation and delivery, right? On the same line, because there one church in Texas, I won't call the name, they don't want to offend anyone. So their sermon is say just encourage the people, just motivate them. You can be the best you can be and all that, right? So how do you approach sermon preparation so that you don't scare people, or you don't drive people away, or you don't compromise, or some people by the time they open their mouth is how terrible you are and how you are destined, you are going to hell and you are going to this and that, right? Then for some it's like, okay, let me be nice so that I won't be, so that I won't step on any toes. Or okay, there's a situation that is going on in the country, I want to speak to it. There's a situation that is going on in Liberia, I want to use my pulpit to speak to it. And all these things, how do you approach those kind of things? Because things going on, or there are some people, they counsel few people, and then what they counsel them about, or what is going on in the church, maybe they fought yesterday at the football field, and then today your sermon is on fighting. Those are just few examples. How do you approach your sermon preparation and delivery?
Yes, so we all practice ministry differently. For me, my sermon preparation comes out of spending time with the Lord. I'm a student of the Word. I spend time studying the Bible. All right. So while I'm studying the Bible, the Lord will give me a message to preach. Or while I'm spending time before the Lord praying, He will give me a message to preach and the scripture. Or even sometimes in my sleep, the Lord will give me a message. All right. Some of the things that have happened at Ebenezer Community Church, they have happened those 3 ways. Some of them, either in my sleep, while I'm praying, or while I'm studying my Bible. All right. So, and actually, I should tell you that if you are a student of the Bible and you spend time in the Word daily, you will get the Spirit of God will inspire you with plenty of messages. You will not run out of messages. All right. I know it is true. You will not run out of messages. There are some messages the Spirit of God gave me years ago, and I have not even preached them yet. All right. Now, it is unethical to spend time counseling with people and then you take the issue and bring it to the pulpit. All right. Now, as you also mentioned that, like for me, this year, November, it's going to be 40 years since I responded to the call of God to ministry. So I've been doing this for a long time from high school. And then I've been doing counseling with married people for years. So if I'm preaching, especially related to marriage, I definitely have some experiences that I can talk about because I've been doing premarital counseling and marriage counseling for years. I have experience. So I will speak out of the experience. But if I'm going to use an illustration of a couple, all right, even if the illustration is good, all right, I have to ask the permission. All right. It's totally unethical to come and bring somebody's marital issue to the pulpit and everybody knows exactly who you're talking about.
I know.
That is a breach of confidentiality and it's unethical. It's against my ethics and practice of ministry. All right. But generally, yes, I can speak generally because of the experience, not only as a pastor, but I'm also a husband. All right. Before I became a husband, I was a child. I saw some things happening in my parents' marriage that I would like not to repeat. You see, so basically, the sermon preparation should come out of your time with the Lord and so forth. But then I should also mention that as pastors, we are the voice for the voiceless. So, for example, when things are happening in the country that are national issues and God impresses upon our hearts to speak about it, then we do. Right now, there is a book. I don't know whether you've heard of my book called Scrap Racism. Scrap Racism is a sermon that was being prepared to preach when George Floyd got killed in Minnesota. And the morning I was getting from my bed to get ready to go to church, the Lord spoke to my heart that I should turn that sermon manuscript into a book. So now that book is published, Scrap Racism, the church's response to racism in America. And it gives you step by step on how the church should respond to racism. It talks about the reality of racism in this country. It talks about, how I experience racial prejudice. All right. So I had to be able to address the issue. I mean, just imagine when George Floyd was killed, the tension that was across the country and the world, and especially Minnesota. And we go to church and the members are looking at you. You can see the fear and trepidation on their faces. You have to say something to give them hope. All right. So, yes, we can address national issues. We can address the issue of racial prejudice. We can address those things, even the immigration issue right now. We have something to say about it. But the point here is let God give me the message to be able to give that day. And I shouldn't
Not
just
out
be
of feelings.
speaking, or with my own volition. Yes.
Thank you. We have so much to cover before I bring in people if they have questions. I have too many questions, but I'm not going to ask everything because we want to go by time. What's about music, right? The kind of music, or let's talk about your worship style and music. Do you have some songs that you can sing and songs that you can't sing? Do your songs go through some? Because I personally, there are some songs that I really hate. I think you're just fussing with the devil. The time you're supposed to spend, with God, you and devil fighting. Devil, the whole you did for me, and devil know that already. How do you approach your worship? The kind of songs you sing, and what kind of music that you will allow or not allow?
All right, so I will say a couple of things here. It may not be the same for all other congregations, but one of the things that has helped me is the fact that in our church, you have people who were born in Liberia but lived most of their lives here in the USA. All right. And then of course we have our children here. And so along the way, all right, as we're going on our journey as a church, these people who have lived longer here in America, they'll say, Pastor, listen, we know most of our members are from Liberia, but this is not Liberia. You have to incorporate some of the other songs so that everybody feels welcome and acceptable. All right. So that when Africans come to the church, they can find a place. When Americans come to the church, they can find a place. All right. And so we have to be wise to listen to that godly counsel. All right. So our style of worship is eclectic. All the members of Ebenezer Community Church, they are all from different faith backgrounds. So that's why we don't go by, Baptist church, Methodist church. No, we are called a community church because in our composition, we are more of a, we are a mixture of all the denominations. All right. So our tradition is a mixture of Baptist, Pentecostal, you just name it. So I had to listen to that godly counsel from those members. So when you come to our church, if you are African, you will find the African vibe. If you are an African American, you will find it. If you are a white American or Caucasian, you will relate to the music because it's a combination of musical styles. Now, as far as the theology of the songs, the church is 25 years old now. So most of the people who are members of our music team have either grew up in the church or come with some degree of maturity. So that issue about some of the theology in the song is not something that we have really dealt with at Ebenezer Community Church. If it has, then it's just really, but most of our members have been taught from the time they were children, from the children's church up to now. They are now in the choir. So the theology is refined. They have refined theology. All right. So we really don't have problem with me coming to say, okay, let me see the theology of this song before you go sing it. No. We rarely do we have a situation like that. And I want to believe because we have learned to help people to be strong, to have strong foundation in the word. And two, we have people who have grown up here in this country and they have been able to give some godly counsel to us.
How do you approach criticism? But you as pastor, you will be criticized. Sometimes your name will be dragged in the mud for no apparent reason. How do you take it? It could be your children, your family, somebody.
Yeah, so I will share something with you that will help you understand where I'm coming from. Criticism can be painful. To be honest with you, they can be painful because you try to do the best you can, and then people are criticizing you, and so it can be painful. All right. Or even if it is not criticism, but when people don't understand your vision, the way you want to go, and they see things differently, sometimes it can be painful. So one time I was a little bit down, I guess, and I went to the Lord about this issue. Here's what the Lord told me. He says, Francis, even you yourself, who's the pastor of the church, sometimes you don't understand me. All right. The things I ask you to do, you don't understand me. And you just do it by faith. Do you expect the people to understand you? And it changed my whole mindset in relating to the church members. All right. Or whether it's criticism from without or from within. All right. So basically, I try not to be angry at people when they criticize me. All right. I always try to find what is the good that I can get from that criticism. Or I try to disprove what they are saying by doing the right thing. All right. Now today, a lot of people, they praise Ebenezer Community Church. They said this is the pride of our diaspora community, not just Liberians. I'm talking about Africans and even Americans. They come to me for consultation. How did you come from Africa to lead these people to build this church?
Just like I'm doing today.
Yeah, they come to me for consultation. Unfortunately, most of the people that come to me for consultation are Caucasians or other nationalities, not my own Liberians. I don't know why. But so there were criticisms, my brother. People could not understand when we just decided to buy the land, just to buy the land, $745,000. People were criticizing, the criticisms were coming. I believe with all of my heart that God could help us to buy that land. I just believe it because I have seen God doing greater things in Liberia in the midst of scarcity. I pastored in Liberia for years. I saw God move miraculously in the midst of scarcity. So being in America where there is a lot, I don't see why God cannot buy a land, 4.3 acres of land for $745,000. So my faith was too high. And people were criticizing me for that. In fact, when we got ready to buy the land, few of our members left. They said it was too much money. They left the church. So we bought the land. Then we said we would build. Our first phase, about $4 million. Criticisms were coming from people again. Why you want to build church for all that much money in America? Why you can't build something in Liberia? I mean, the criticism, I just decided I will continue to encourage our congregation, and we will build. And guess what? We built the first phase, 4 million. Then we got ready to build the second phase, 6 million. Criticism again. They were not happy. It's not possible. It will not happen. You will not maintain the building. Criticisms. We just decided to keep our focus. Just do what God has put in your heart to do. You remember from Liberia, they said, if you mind the noise in the market, you will not buy your boni. So then we built the big building. It's sitting there. It takes 1,000 people, American standard. If you put the African standard in there, you can take almost 2,000 people, but we try to obey the American standard.
Right.
But even at that, we are getting criticism again. Okay. We will not pay for it. We will not maintain it. We are maintaining it for 9 years now, but they say we will not maintain it. We will not pay for it. Criticisms. So I handle criticism. Before I became a Christian, let me tell you this. Before I became a Christian, one of the things I hated was somebody to tell me what I cannot do. All right. And I guess when I became a Christian, God just allowed me to turn that into something positive. All right. I serve God, the God who created the universe. If God tells me you can do this, I don't like for men to tell me you can't. All right. I will pursue God.
You got to be realistic, though.
Yeah, you can be realistic. I'm not saying that we should be foolish in our thinking. No, we will not be foolish in our thinking. But when God lays something in our hearts to do, that means He's going to make the necessary provision and do it. Yes, I agree. We should be calculative. We should be wise, and so forth. So, for example, when we started the church, we couldn't start the first day of the church and say we would build $10 million building. That was going to be unrealistic. People would say you are far-fetched. You think it also. No, we started step by step. We bought the land. Then we built the first phase. Then we built the second phase. And now we are trying to pay off mortgage. Okay.
And,
Go step by
with
step.
that word mortgage, you just called. Let's talk about the role of money in your church. I know Ecclesiastes 10:19 say money answer everything. There's my brother-in-law who's a pastor said no, that's not what God meant that you can use. Then there's a church, we used to collect offering, and the offering song will go like this: you give God, God give you. You mean God, God mean you. Is the God is so transactional, you don't give it, you don't get back. So how is money issue? First of all, how do you approach, what role does money play? Now there's most churches get their money through tithings. Now they are almost like a movement. People say, oh, tithing is the Old Testament stuff. So people should give willingly and all these different things. Now, if you get to prioritize money too much, then you are like the pastor I talk about who always try like cassava leaf. The cassava leaf pound always like they wanting. The pastor come to your house, you got to buy jars. The pastor do this, pastor always receiving. Let's talk about money in your church. And
yes, so we do talk about money in Ebenezer Community Church. In fact, one of my friends visited our church when I was doing my doctorate degree. This white guy, my classmate, he visited my church or our church. And when we got back to class the following week, he told all of my classmates, he says, when you go to Francis Church, he says, you should put your hands over your wallet. He will get everything out of you. So we do talk about money, but what happened is, Brother Dennis, we teach our people. From the very beginning of the church, we started teaching on how to give. All right. We have members in our church who never knew anything about giving. Today, they are like amongst the highest givers in the church. We got Liberians in our church who can give over $30,000 a year, $40,000. We got Liberians. I'm talking about the other Africans. The other Africans, some of them can really give. But the reason why we have Liberians at Ebenezer Community Church that can give thousands of dollars in a year is because they have learned, they have been taught over the years to give. And the thing here, this is not my first pastorate. Ebenezer Community Church is not my first pastorate. This is my third pastorate. I pastor a fellowship in Habel Firestone. I pastor the Grace Baptist Church in Barnesville, Liberia. And all those churches, I saw how things turned around when the people were taught to give. And so we brought that same ideology to Ebenezer Community Church. We taught the people how to give. Up to today, we still teach how to give. Now, some people say tithing is other style and so forth. I just go to the Bible. The Bible says in Malachi, bring your tithe into the storehouse that there may be food in my house, says the Lord. Prove me, put me to a test, and see if I will not open up the windows of heaven and pour you down a blessing that you will not be able to contain. Jesus said it's more blessed to give than to receive. The Apostle Paul says on the first day of the week, we should bring that which we have laid aside. So I just teach what the Bible says. Whether people believe tithing is other style or not, I just teach what the Bible says. All right? The other thing is, those of us who are pastors, we should lead by example. All right. So, for example, I, Francis Tabla, I stand before the church and tell the church how much my family gave the previous year. Now, I'm not doing that to brag. I'm doing that for the church members to know I'm not asking you for something that I'm not doing. As a matter of fact, in our church, by the grace of God, we are always in the top 5 highest givers. All right? Always. All of the churches God has sent us to pastor, we have tried to be in the top 5 givers in the church because we want the members to know that we are leading by example. Whenever we are doing fundraising,
So you are not that
I will
you are not
announce.
the cassava leaf that's always
No,
stretching.
I'm not a Kasawali type. We will announce to the church what our family will give. For example, this $4 million campaign we have, my family is giving 40,000 US dollars to this campaign. 40,000, $770 every week for 52 weeks. Now, when I do that as a pastor, what message am I sending to the church members? They are saying, you know what? Our pastor is leading by example, and so they are encouraged to give. But sometimes, unfortunately, sometimes we as pastors, sometimes we ask the people to give and we don't want to give.
Yeah.
And that's not good. And if we don't give, the church members will know. Church members will know if the pastor is not giving. They will know. See, so yes, I do teach, but then I also am transparent with regards to giving. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. My guest is Reverend Dr. Francis O. Tabla, and he has a big church in Minnesota. Currently they want to pay off their mortgage. They want so much money to pay off, and we'll talk about the campaign later on. So when I was deciding to see, okay, many times we see that Liberian churches, maybe in a little place, you have 10 different churches. When I was in Ghana, the high school, every classroom is a denomination. I'm not saying anything wrong with it, but the churches are small. So when I saw this big church, I decided to call you and say how you did it, so that we can learn from you, not just for church planting and church building, but also our own organization. But Pastor, before I bring in callers, so callers, please, the phone number is 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403 #. There's this big thing about same-sex marriage, and it's a big thing now going on. Churches are breaking apart and all that. We are in America. There's tolerance. You have to do this. You have to, do that. How do you handle this whole thing about same-sex people in your congregation? Maybe holding offices or not holding offices or counseling them, or how do you handle it? It's huge.
Yeah. So the issue you just brought out is one of those controversial issues, and sometimes I don't like to go into controversy, but here is my position. All right. And since I'm the resident theologian of the church,
Right.
the pastor of the church, and I'm part of a bigger body, that is our position. Our position is the Judeo style of marriage, or the biblical style of marriage, where God designed marriage to be between a man and a woman. All right. So when somebody comes to join our church, before they become members of the church, there's something called the church covenant. All right. And they sign that so they know where we stand before they come to join the church. All right. Now, somebody may subscribe to the lifestyle of a gay and still sign the people and join the church. It's possible. Somebody may do that. All right. But as a church, we stand with the biblical form of marriage where God created Adam and then he created Eve to be his wife. All right. Now, in my practice of ministry, I think it was on one occasion somebody asked me whether I could wed them. They were gay, and they asked me whether I could wed them. And I said, well, the style of marriage that I will officiate will be between a man and a woman. And they said, oh, okay. And they respected that. They respected my view and then they just back off. So yes, it's a controversial issue, but basically if I'm approached on that, I would just state what my position is, and my position will usually be what the word of God says. Yeah. Now, I should also mention that I don't necessarily hate somebody who is a gay. I don't hate them. I love them. But I wouldn't want to be a gay, and I don't want them to force me to be a gay. But I would love them. They are children of God just as I am. It's just that they choose a lifestyle that I don't subscribe to. Do I hate them? No. Will I preach the gospel to them? Yes. If they give their lives to Christ and they want to be members of the church, I can't stop them from becoming members of the church, but I would not just subscribe to that lifestyle. And I just think, since we are on live, and we're going live to a bigger audience, I would just think that's how the approach should be. I know I'm going to be treading on some waters here, but for example, in previous years, we were hearing on the news that, some gay people went to go to a shop where ask them to bake their cake. And because the owner of the shop said that, they can't do cake for gay couple or something like that, it became a big issue and, X, Y, and Z. Here is how I approach it. If I went to McDonald's to go and buy Burger King, I'll be going to the wrong place. All right. If I want McDonald's, I'll go to McDonald's. If I want Burger King, I'll go to Burger King. All right. So I'm just going to leave it there. We shouldn't impose our views, on other people. All right.
Right.
Yes.
I like that. If I can go to a Red Lobster and ask for fufu.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after I have two more questions, and then we talk about your capital. One more question, we talk about your capital campaign is, what lesson have you learned about leadership and management? What are some of the key lessons you have learned, pastoring the Ebenezer Community Church?
Yeah. So people always ask me the question in this country, and when I travel different parts of the world, they say, how you manage with Liberians, or how you manage with Africans? They are, the confusion is and whatnot. I said, well, listen, I see Liberians differently or now Africans. All right. I see it, let's say specifically Liberians, because most of the time the question is how you manage with these Liberians. I bet there is a psychology in dealing with Liberians. And if you know that psychology, you will get Liberians to do a whole lot. And you are speaking with me today because God has helped me to get Liberians to do a whole lot. Liberians are, they can do a lot. If you understand the psychology, one, you have to be a transparent leader. All right. A leader who says what he would do and does what he says. You have to be a transparent leader. You have to lead by example. Number one. Number two, you have to be a strong leader. You can't be a weak person. You want to lead Liberians. It doesn't work. You have to be a strong leader. When I say strong, I'm not talking about strength to beat people.
Right.
No, you have to be a person of strong will and determination. All right. Lead by example, be a strong leader. Be a humble leader.
Mhm.
If you are humble, you'll be able to get. So just imagine, it was probably just after we built our first phase, before we started seeing droves of other nationalities coming in. All right. But before we built our first phase, majority, or say almost all the members were from Liberia.
Right.
But by the grace of God, we're still able to get them for us to get to buy the land and then build the first phase. How? They saw strong leadership, they saw transparency, and they saw humility. All right. So those three factors, you really want to put them in. And then the other thing is, for to be successful, you have to be somebody who is somebody who has some level of creativity.
Yeah.
All right. You have to have some
Innovation.
level of creativity. God is a creative God, and God can give you some creative ideas. When you hear about some of the capital campaigns that we have had over the years, you will be amazed. There was a time we ran a campaign to reach 5 million people that we just gave $1 each. Now we didn't reach that, but at least we raised between 50 to $80,000 just from that $1 campaign. All right. Now we are saying, I'm jumping straight to this campaign. We are saying we want to reach 40,000 people who will give $100 each. That's creativity. Some of the people who are giving to this campaign, they just giving to the campaign because of the creative, ideology behind the campaign. You see? So yes, you have to be humble, and then you have to be able to take a risk. A lot of times we don't want to take risks. We are afraid to take risks. And Diane Scobie, the wife of the late Dick Scobie from the Challenger that fell from space, crashed, the spacecraft crash. She said, the greatest risk in life is not to take a risk. All right. And all through our journey, we have taken some very big risks, but God has been able to help us along the way. And those risks turn out to be something advantageous for the kingdom of God. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, no, that helps, and I'm showing your church right there, and the things we continue to do.
Yes,
Well,
and I would like to add that you undergird all what I've just said. You undergird it with prayer, all right, and learning from other people. As I sit here before you, I am still open to learning. I go to different pastors to learn from them. I remember you mentioned Bishop Darlington Johnson. When we built our first phase, I look at the building, it was so big. I said, I've never handled anything like this in my life. Who should I go and talk to? I went and spent 1 week with Bishop Darlington Johnson in Maryland because they have a bigger facility there. And I learned how to be able to manage something like this, how to manage the staff. 1 week I spent with him, I learned a lot. When I came back, those things I learned, I implemented them at Ebenezer Community Church, and it enhanced our growth. It enhanced our, capacity. So we should always be on the cutting edge to learn some new things and don't think that we know everything. And that's why I said from the beginning, I'm not speaking as an expert. I'm speaking as somebody who God has given grace to do this, but also always on the move to learn new things.
right. So just like I started, you went to Bishop Johnson. You're not like us who wanted to win soccer. We went to Chambo, and Chambo never played soccer.
Yeah, I went to
so
Bishop Johnson.
so you are due to go to Philadelphia. Let's talk about your trip to Philadelphia on this same capital campaign.
Yes, I'm currently in Philadelphia. You are interviewing me from Philadelphia. I came ahead to do some groundwork, mobilization, follow-ups, and whatnot, so that we can have a big program on Sunday. So basically, what happens, Brother Dennis, is that Ebenezer Community Church has a lot of friends on the East Coast. All right. Philadelphia, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia. We have a lot of friends on this belt. All right. And so we thought it wise to come, because some of them, they may not necessarily go to Minnesota. Some of them would like to see us here with an event. And so Pastor Kwaku Owosu Boache of the Overbrook AG Church graciously accepted for us to come and do a fundraiser here. And so we are here in Philadelphia, the home of the Philadelphia Eagles, the Super Bowl champs, the home of the city of brotherly love. We are here to do a fundraiser, a capital campaign for all of our friends, our well-wishers, our loved ones, relatives on the East Coast to drive to Philly and come let us do this campaign. We pray that God will bless the campaign so we can generate some funds from here to add on to what we've already raised from other places, Minnesota, and of course, Liberia. All right. So basically, the campaign is the fundraiser is this Sunday at 4:30 p.m. at the Overbrook Church, 6651 West Girard Avenue, Philadelphia, PA. 4:30 American time. Please join us at the Philadelphia Church in Philadelphia, the Overbrook Assemblies of God Church in Philadelphia.
Stable and provide some of the aforementioned ministries. We purchased 4.3 acres of land in 2004. We built our first phase of 14,000 square feet in 2016, which cost us about $4 million US. We built our second phase of 20,000 square feet in 2021, which cost us about $6 million US. We now have a 1,000 seated sanctuary and the Reverend Dr. Peter James Fleming Educational Center that houses the Ebenezer Theological Institute to train individuals for ministry. We have paid $6 million on our mortgage notes, and we are left with a balance of $4 million. We have launched a special Faith in Action campaign to reach 40,000 people who will donate $100 each to help us pay off the mortgage balance. We have set as our goal to pay off the balance mortgage by August 31st, 2025, and burn the notes during our 25th anniversary celebration on September 14, 2025. We want to give you an opportunity to sow into fertile soil, your destiny and your legacy.
So, Pastor, how would you do with the campaign? You know, do you look at it as is it something? How are we doing? You look like grasshopper in front of it, or is it?
Yes, so we have made significant progress.
Okay.
I did not ask the financial team for the latest update, but I have a sense that we have crossed the $300,000 mark. You know, the last time I was with you, we were heading to Liberia to do a fundraiser there. The people of Liberia were very generous. We raised over 35,000 US in Liberia.
Wow.
All right. They were very generous. They were surprised. Some of the people were surprised to know that Liberians are part of a church like this in the United States. All right. Even though we have other nations in the church, but they were just surprised. And some of them, they were just deeply moved to give. All right. And the Lord has blessed us with a presence in Liberia. You know, we got 3 churches there. We support students in Liberia. We support other mission programs in Liberia. They were very, very generous. So we pray that our friends and well-wishers on the East Coast will be generous, and we look forward to having a great time on Sunday.
And for those who would not be in church, how do you want them to support this campaign?
Yes, so we have the giving platforms. They can give by Zelle, they can give by Venmo, they can give by the different giving platforms that we have. PayPal, you just name it.
So,
yeah, Cash
Reverend, thank you so much for sharing your time with us and sharing your experience on how to start, to grow, and maintain a big church, just like Ebenezer Community Church. I want to hear your closing comments, and we will be drawing down the curtains.
Yeah, if anything, I believe we should be the one telling you thank you, because what you have done is to give us the platform to come and share our experience. During the course of our journey, there was a time I went to the Lord. We ran into a huge setback, and I went to the Lord it was almost like I was trying to ask God, why is it that when we're trying to make progress, we run into big problems? What sin have I committed that we're having these problems? And the Lord told me, He says, Francis, you are not having this problem because you have sinned. He said, I'm taking you and the church through a process. And when I get through with you and the church, then others will know that if I can do it for you and Ebenezer Community Church, I can do it for them too. All right. So now I'm understanding what God meant, because all the time people come to Ebenezer Community Church just to see the place. All the time people come to get consultation from me, and we are willing to share our experiences. So now you've given me the platform to help our brothers and sisters know that this is possible. It is possible. With God, all things are possible. If you have a mission action plan, you have a plan in place, you have a life of prayer, you are dedicated, and you are a people's person, humble, it can happen. So thank you so much, Brother Dennis, for sharing your platform with us. And we pray that something said here today will be a source of encouragement and inspiration to those who are listening. And if there's any pastor listening, you want to tap into our experience, you can find us. I'm not hard to find. Just look for Francis Tabla. You will find me, and I'll be glad to sit with you and share our experiences with you. God bless you. Thank you again, Brother Dennis.
Thank you. One of your members here, C. Alvin, we are saying, I'm watching from Fradley, Minnesota. I'm a member of the Ebenezer Community Church. I extend my greetings to Reverend Dr. Francis Tabla and the host of the show. Again, we want to say thank you very much. It takes, Bible says, he that waters others shall himself be watered. So whatever we do here to water you, because we want to tap into that blessing. So thank you again for agreeing to be, to come here and say, let me come and share my experience so that others will learn. We want to thank our viewers. And
I know you have more questions. But the next time we come, we'll address the rest.
Yeah, let me let you go. You're busy over there, and my regards to my friend Henry and the pastor at Overbrook, and everybody there at your church. And the day I come to Minnesota, definitely I will stop by.
God bless you. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you again.
Thank you. And to our people, we say good night, and join us later at 7, where we're going to talk some politics. Bye-bye now.
We are Labira. Labira is our home. Labira people. Labira.